more at nocrisis.com.
This message sponsored by the FBI Las Vegas Citizens Academy Alumni Association, a nonprofit organization separate and apart from the FBI in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association.
1015 FM KDAWN.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
Good morning, Las Vegas on a Super Bowl Sunday. How's everybody doing out there? We have a massively jam-packed show on the Mark Hoke Show here. The best in pro wrestling news and entertainment is we became the pro wrestling capital of the United States with AEW Collision being in town, the WrestleMania press conference kicking off here, the road to WrestleMania with The Rock and Cody Rhodes going at it, all sorts of wild stuff going on. And we want to take a second to thank AEW for all of their great hospitality, getting us over there to Collision and some terrific guests. And part of the reason we are going to be kind of running through this first segment really quickly is because we have 3 guests you're going to get to hear from on this show. That's right, 3 of them from AEW. Darby Allin in this hour, plus Nigel McGuinness, of course, Nigel, the color commentator and former Ring of Honor world champion. And Darby and Sting just won the AEW World Tag Team Championships, but they took a bombing at the hands of the Young Bucks at the end of that match on Dynamite. Matthew and Nicholas, bad boys, as they beat up Darby and Sting after they won the titles. And unfortunately for them, a little bit of the white suits that the Bucks were wearing turned crimson red as Darby got busted up. But we got to talk to Darby on Friday, said hi to him, and we're going to hear from him very shortly here. And of course, a lot of other news too, talking about Scott D'Amore is out at TNA, a stunning development there. They were just in town, and Scott excited about the new rebrand, and he is out, has been replaced at Anthem, the parent company of TNA. So he is gone. More Vince McMahon news dealing with former female wrestler Ashley Massaro. I mean, just unbelievable things happening there. You know, Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre went at it again in New Japan last night. Just unreal stuff. And so because we have these great interviews coming up, we have to head to break here real quick to get things rolling. So we're going to head to break very quickly right now because we want to make sure you get to hear from Darby Allin and Nigel McGuinness. So I know it's a real fast one, but we're going to head to break right now. So when we come back, it's going to be time to hear from one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions, Darby Allin. So stick around, everybody. We've got a ton of stuff coming up here for 2 hours of the best in pro wrestling news and entertainment here on the Mark Hoke Show. We will be right back.
The FBI is engaged in a nationwide effort to build public awareness of hate crimes and encourage reporting to law enforcement. Hate crimes include crimes committed on the basis of the victim's perceived or actual race, color, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. Hate crimes are not only an attack on the victim, they are meant to threaten and intimidate an entire community. If you believe you are a victim or a witness of a hate crime, we encourage you to report it to the FBI by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI. Or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. You may remain anonymous. Again, report suspected hate crimes by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. The FBI works to protect all victims of crimes, regardless of their country of national origin or immigration status. The FBI encourages victims and witnesses of any hate-related incident to report it to law enforcement. This message sponsored by the FBI Las Vegas Division, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're pregnant. And no matter what you do, no matter what you try, you can't stop using alcohol, drugs, or tobacco. But no matter how lost you are, how far along you are, it's not too late. There's always hope. And there are many safe places that can help you stop using. In Nevada, pregnant women are given the highest priority for substance use treatment. Low-cost treatment options may be available so you and your baby can get healthy now. If you or someone you love is pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant and using alcohol, drugs, or tobacco, visit SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org or call 211 to find help today. SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org also has resources for healthcare providers, friends, and family. If you want to help someone who's pregnant and using, visit SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org or call 211 today. Sponsored by the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health and in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Ready for your next vacation? Not so fast. Before you hit the road, remember these healthy habits to keep yourself and others safe and sanitary. Wash your hands after using the restroom, before eating and after blowing your nose. Sanitize airplane seats and tray tables. Sneeze or cough into a tissue or your elbow. And avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Lastly, make sure you're up to date on all your routine vaccines, including the COVID-19 vaccine. It's also important to get tested when necessary, such as if you develop COVID-19 symptoms before, during, or after travel. If you'll be traveling to visit someone who is at a higher risk of getting very sick from COVID-19, or if you're in a situation with a greater risk of exposure during travel. Pack these tips on your next adventure. And remember, travel safely, Nevadans. This message is sponsored by a CDC grant through the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
And we are on the Mark Hoke Show. Very excited to welcome in, I'll tell you, one of the most unique guys in professional wrestling, multiple-time TNT champion, and the newly crowned, well, in a couple of ways, AEW World Tag Team Champion, along with his partner Sting. Let's welcome him in, Darby Allin, to the Mark Hoke Show. Darby, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm doing good, but like physically a little banged up from Wednesday, but mentally my spirits at our all-time high.
The part of the reason I was saying you were crowned a couple of ways was you guys didn't get to celebrate very long after you and Sting won the world tag titles from Big Bill and Ricky Starks, as those young bucks, Matthew and Nicholas, showed up, and they were wearing some of your blood on those suits. So can't imagine you're too happy about that.
No, it's more of the fact, look, if I got jumped after winning the TNT Championship, fine, I understand it. But to do that to someone like Sting, which you literally got about a month, if that, left of his career, and to take that moment away from him, that's kind of where I draw the line. And there's going to be a time, there's going to be a place where we get their blood, but we'll wait for that.
Well, I have a feeling that's going to be coming up at Revolution, wouldn't you say?
Oh, might be a little sooner.
Oh, really? Are we going to have a little fun here at AEW Collision coming up here on Saturday at the Dollar Loan Center?
You never know.
Oh, boy, I wouldn't mind the Young Bucks eating a skateboard or two. That would be fun.
Yeah, no, it would be awesome.
Oh, all the more reason to buy your tickets, everybody. That would be great. Let's talk a little bit about this partnership with Sting. Now, this has been going on for a few years now, and I'd be interested to hear how this all came about, because obviously, Sting's getting towards the end. We're going to be having a retirement match here at Greensboro at AEW Revolution here in just a few weeks. Why you? How did you end up being the one that he decided to work with for all this time to close things out?
Honestly, I have no idea. It's like, it was just like one thing led to another. It's, pretty crazy because like when I first heard that Sting was coming into AEW, everyone told me that he was coming in almost as like an ambassador. Like there was no like wrestling planned at all. If anything, we do cinematic matches. And, I said a couple weeks ago, I was in the ring with him when I told him this. I went down to his house in Texas. He had a ring down there. We were rolling around the ring. And I told him, like, dude, like, you still got it, man. You need to end this career in your own terms. Obviously after the neck injury that he sustained, he was a little hesitant. He's like, man, I don't know. And I was like, no, we need to get out there live and wrestle in front of an audience. You need to end your career on your own terms. And I think it's almost like along his career, I've been known towards the end of his career, I've been known as the Sting Whisperer. Whenever I'm able to get him out of his comfort zone and be comfortable with things, and he trusts me now. Whatever direction we go in, he trusts me. He's like, all right, you got a good pulse on how, to navigate this world of AEW. Because, him coming into the world of AEW, it's a whole new scene, it's whole new wrestlers, everything. But it's very important for me to have that with him, in the end of his career.
So what you're saying is him taking some of these crazy bumps is your fault.
No. This is the funny part. I say, I want to do it all. I want to jump off the balconies, and he's like, nope, I'm doing it. And I was like, oh man. So everybody says, Darby, stop having him jump off these balconies. It's not me. It's I can't stop him. It's literally, that's him. And if people were to blame me, you can't call it peer pressure because he's 35 years older. So it's insane. And that shows the testament of how much he's willing to put his body through to end his legacy, not phoning it in, not going out there and playing the greatest hits. This man's he has such a amazing work ethic. It's awesome to see. Me being 31 and watching him being 64, it's insane to see. A lot of times people could just ride off to the sunset all chill and normal and just go out there and play the greatest hits. But he's got a point to prove. I don't know exactly what it is because he's done everything, but he's pushing the limits.
It's fascinating to see you getting so much trust from so many of the veterans in AEW and done the work with Adam Copeland. You've been called upon in spots with so many other guys over the time that you've been in AEW. And obviously people know you from the indies and MLW and so on. But what has amazed me is how many of the veterans that are in this organization have put their trust in you in big spots, and that Tony Khan has said, you know what, Darby, you're my guy. Why is that everyone has said, you know what, Darby Allin is the man, let's do it?
I don't know. To me, I think I'm willing to go places physically and mentally that no one else is willing to go. I'm pushing the limit every week, and I really feel like people see that and they know that I have this work ethic to really prove a point. Because every time I go out there, it could be any time of the week. It could be Dynamite, Rampage, Collision. I walk out there when I make my entrance, it literally feels like my debut. I act like it's my first, act like it's the first time people are seeing me, and I never have the night off. And I think people see that I'm willing to do things week in and week out, and everybody knows you're going to go to the hospital. You got to be careful. You got to slow down. But I'm not taking any of this for granted. I'm very aware of what I'm doing to myself physically, the wear and tear. I'm more aware than anybody. But it's just, the thing is, I'm so grateful for this opportunity in life, with a company like AEW that just goes out there and says, Darby, you be you. And, because I never thought I was going to make it to a place like this. So I'm not taking anything for granted, because I remember being a dishwasher and not even, dropping out of school and stuff and thinking that I wouldn't be able to make it. So I think people see that I'm determined to prove a point.
Do you feel like you've proven it, though? I mean, I know some people watch you sometimes. I was going back and watching some of your footage, that Jeff Hardy drop from the ladder that you did on the chairs, and some of the other things that you did, the one that you just did with Hobbs and Takeshita where you got thrown across the ring and got whiplashed. I just sit there and I'm like, oh my God, one of these times, man, one of these times. And I just get so nervous watching you some days. And, as a dad, I'd be like, if that was my kid, I'd be like, oh, yeah. And it drives me crazy to say, I just don't want anything bad to happen to the dude. Do you ever worry about that sometimes?
No, not at all. I think it's insane that there's so much people getting injured in the world of wrestling, and they don't do anything that I do. And people it's funny because I don't ever really get hurt. My body feels great. I have a crazy physical recovery regimen at my house. I do so much. And, I feel wonderful, and people are telling me to slow down. Meanwhile, people are getting screwed up on the smallest things. I'm like, all right, man, don't talk to me about safety. I feel great, and I'm not going to stop. And that's the thing. People are like, you don't have to do this. for our entertainment anymore. I'm like, who says I'm doing it for your entertainment? I'm doing it for me. I physically love doing this stuff. It's not to impress anybody. It's literally a feeling I get when I do it. So I appreciate all the fans looking out for me, but when they say, Darby, you don't have to do this for us anymore, I'm like, I'm not doing it for you guys. I'm doing it for me. I love it. I love the thrill. It's can't go out there and take it easy. No way.
What is that recovery regimen? What's the secret?
All right. So for me, besides all the yoga, so I have the sauna, I have this ice bath I sit in that for like 20 minutes a day. That's at 39 degrees. Like it's pretty, like it's freezing. But on top of that, I do a lot of like dry needling, which is like acupuncture, and I do yoga obviously. And I feel like a lot of it is also staying very active outside the ring with like skateboarding. Because like Tony Hawk told me a long time ago, because he's like 55 years old, and everyone always asks like, Tony Hawk, like how do you stay so like with it? And he's like, just don't take a break. So you just keep your body moving. And also meditation too. Like the mind is the biggest part of this whole thing to me. If the mind's not right, then the body will follow. So I just keep my mind like really at peace, and my body feels like great. And also, I'm straight edge. I don't take anything. I don't take any pain pills. And people are like, that's crazy. You need to take something. Like, no, dude, I feel great. And I told people, like, I take a drug test anytime, any place, anywhere. Like, just I don't care. Like, people are like, man, he's good. He's probably all hopped up on these pills right now. How can he deal with the pain? I'm like, dude, maybe I need to be tested in a lab, but I feel wonderful. There's a lot that goes into it.
Man, you need to make some videos or something.
Yeah. I'm down for all that stuff. They told me the same thing about my Mount Everest training. They said, like, you got 6 months to train for the biggest mountain in the world, and you have 0 mountain experience. That's unheard of. And I proved them all wrong. And then they said, okay, April, you're going to climb Mount Everest, and we think you're ready. And this company, Adventure Consultants, doesn't mess around. They don't put people on the mountain with no experience. It told me I had to do all the training, and I had to like pass with flying colors. And I did that. And they're like, wow, you proved us wrong. So it's like, so yeah, I think a lot of it, like I said before, it's all mental. You have to have the strong mind for it.
We're on with Darby Allin here on the Mark Hoke Show, a physical phenom to say the least. And one thing I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned about all this training and everything that you do. And something that fascinates me as being a former coach is the speed that you generate in the ring when you're doing those ring dives and, ramming into people when you're flying out. Has anybody ever done any biometric testing on you to see how fast you're going and the force that you generate? I'm just curious about that.
No, absolutely. No, nobody has. It's funny. When I first started wrestling, I was like 120 pounds. And, obviously put on size since then. But I used to think that my biggest downfall was my size, but now it's my biggest positive. Like, to me, it's my biggest plus out there because I move so fast. I'm so agile, and I'm like a cat. If it looks like I'm about to fall on my neck, 1 second later, I'm on my feet. It's like, I just find my pluses and everything like that. But I've never been tested to see how fast I'm moving out there.
Well, I know you do a lot of filmmaking. There's a project for you.
Yeah, no, I'd be down, get a little of that speed gun and have me hit the ropes and see what happens. But yeah, it'd be fun.
It'd be fascinating because I seriously have never seen anybody go as fast in a ring. And I've been watching wrestling for a very long time. It's amazing to watch. Like I said, you do a lot of filmmaking. I think that would be a great project for you to do. So maybe you should do that. And, I know you did that fun stuff with Adam Copeland when he was coming back. So give you something else to do.
Yeah, I'm making a little documentary about my time on Mount Everest. I'm going to go up there with the GoPro and just talk a lot about, my mindset going into it and just film the whole process. So, I don't know if that can be incorporated in it, but we'll see.
Tell us a little bit about that. What sparked your interest in doing filmmaking?
There's a lot of stuff that obviously grew up big fan of film, like documentaries and everything. I went to film school in Arizona, and then I dropped out because they weren't letting me be me. They wouldn't let me make the films I wanted to make. And then I just I don't know. There was like a creative outlet that I get from it, and just to watch people tell these stories through film and it just leaves this lasting impression on you where you're affected by it for years, and it's inspiring. To me, that's kind of my drive behind it, is to inspire people. I've been inspired by these films growing up, because I don't take a lot of influences from the world of wrestling. I do it from like movies, music, skateboarding. I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know. I just try to bring all my outside passions into the world of wrestling.
So what is left of the stories to tell about Darby Allin in the future? Obviously Sting's going to be done soon here with his retirement. So there's a long future left to go for you. Where do you think the future is going to lead for you in AEW? And what are your aspirations remaining in professional wrestling?
So my whole goal with AEW is to be the face of the company, because it's given me so much inside the ring and outside the ring by just letting me be me. And, nobody tells me what to do. And I think it's very important, because like I said, I dropped out of film school because they didn't let me do what I wanted to do. And I made a pact with myself the first day of wrestling school saying, I'm either going to make it as Darby or I'm going to fail as Darby, but I'm not going to change for anybody. And I haven't done that. So I feel like I've stayed true to myself, and I'm in AEW, and to be the face of this company, I need to be world champion. So that would be the next goal outside of when I get back from Everest, is just to work for that. And outside the ring, though, is just push the boundaries of what a professional wrestler is capable of. Because I'll be the first wrestler to climb Mount Everest, and I want to be the first wrestler to go to outer space. There's a lot of stuff that I want to do, and just push the boundaries, because sometimes I feel like we get stuck in this little bubble and we're on our own little world. And I think sometimes people forget that there's a whole world out there. They have a million things to do. So push the envelope on what's possible.
Well, if there's anybody out there in pro wrestling who can do it, it's you. And you're one of the most fascinating characters out there. And I think the world is going to be fascinated to see where Darby Allin's going to be headed in the future, including Mount Everest. Boy, that's going to be an amazing time. Can't wait to see how that goes for you. I'm sure you're going to be sticking a flag in the ground up there before we know it. It's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal.
Darby, thank you for coming on the Mark Hoke Show. Do appreciate it. It's good to talk to you again, and looking forward to seeing you doing your thing tomorrow night.
All right. Peace out, Mark.
And there you go, Darby Allin, everybody. And when we come back, yes, there's a lot more. Nigel McGuinness, the former Ring of Honor world champion and color commentator for AEW Collision, will be joining us on the show. So stick around. We got more. And of course, Orange Cassidy in the next hour. And then we're going to break down everything happening in WWE and AEW and much more. So stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 101.5 FM. The Talk of Las Vegas. We'll be right back.
If you live in Clark County, you are at risk of developing non-smoking lung cancer. Radon is a naturally occurring radioactive gas that gets into homes and increases one's risk of lung cancer, and it exists here in Clark County. Radon is colorless and odorless, so the only way you know if your radon level is elevated in your home or office is by testing. To get your free test kit, visit our website with a new interactive map to find a pickup location nearest you at www.extension.unr.edu/radon. 21,000 people die of lung cancer each year, and Nevadans are at a higher risk. If an elevated level of radon is found, there are ways to reduce it and lower the risk of getting lung cancer. Get your free test kit today. Visit our website with a new interactive map to find a pickup location nearest you at www.extension.unr.edu/radon. Sponsored by the University of Nevada, Reno Extension's Radon Education Program, and aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Understanding the many things in a mother's life affecting her pregnancy is important. You can help improve the health of all mothers and babies in Nevada by completing a pregnancy risk assessment monitoring system survey about your recent pregnancy. Also known as PRAMS, the survey is from the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The survey asks new moms about their experience before, during, and after pregnancy. Responses are confidential and used to help improve the health of mothers and babies in Nevada. If you receive a PRAMS survey, please share your story. Learn more at nvprams.dpbh.nv.gov. That's nvprams.dpbh.nv.gov. This message sponsored by the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
My son stopped talking to me. He didn't want to leave his room.
I didn't feel like talking to anyone. I just wanted to be alone.
I was really worried about my daughter. She was angry all the time.
I felt so depressed.
I was really worried about my daughter. I couldn't do anything right. I was always getting yelled at.
My son told me he wanted to hurt himself. I was so scared.
I was feeling hopeless. It was all too much.
We needed help.
We needed help.
We needed help. We needed help.
I needed help.
I called the mobile crisis response team, and we met with them that same day.
A crisis team came to my house and helped me talk to my parents about how I was feeling.
I called the mobile crisis response team. They met with us that day.
I talked to them about how I was feeling, and it really helped.
Sometimes understanding what children are experiencing can be difficult. The Nevada Children's Mobile Crisis Response Team provides mental health intervention and support. Learn more at nocrisis.com.
This message sponsored by the FBI Las Vegas Citizens Academy Alumni Association, a nonprofit organization separate and apart from the FBI in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association.
The FBI is engaged in a nationwide effort to build public awareness of hate crimes and encourage reporting to law enforcement. Hate crimes include crimes committed on the basis of the victim's perceived or actual race, color, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. Hate crimes are not only an attack on the victim, they are meant to threaten and intimidate an entire community. If you believe you are a victim or a witness of a hate crime, we encourage you to report it to the FBI by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. You may remain anonymous. Again, report suspected hate crimes by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. The FBI works to protect all victims of crimes, regardless of their country of national origin or immigration status. The FBI encourages victims and witnesses of any hate-related incident to report it to law enforcement. This message sponsored by the FBI Las Vegas Division, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN. You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
And welcome back to the Mark Hoke Show. And we are very excited to have our next guest. I personally cannot begin to tell you how thrilled I am to have this guy on. Been seeing him in and out of the ring for a very long time. It's the former Ring of Honor world champion and pure champion, among many accolades he's had in professional wrestling. Hey, he's a legend in the sport. What can we say? We welcome Nigel McGuinness to the show. Nigel, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you very much, Mark. That was a wonderful introduction. You must have done that sort of thing before.
Just a few times. What can I say?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were very interested to see what Collision was going to be like when it first started, because you already had two different AEW shows with Rampage and Dynamite, and now we're adding a third one in. And so, well, what are they going to do differently on this? But the show definitely has a much different feel to it. And with you and Kevin Kelly and then Tony Schiavone doing what you're doing on there, it's a very different show than the other ones. And what are you guys trying to do to make it feel much different from the other two shows that AEW is putting out?
Well, I mean, obviously every announcer has their own sort of voice and their own sort of style. I think with my, how would I say this, opinion of Bryan and various other people in the company, I like to sort of push that opinion far more vehemently than I would have done in the last place I worked, or other people like to do as well. It's just horses for courses, whichever floats your boat more. And I just feel like that really makes what I say stand out and be a little bit different as well. But, some people hate that. You know what I mean? So certainly our voices are different. Kevin has the experience in Japan and Ring of Honor. He knows all about statistics. He knows everything about the history. And Tony Schiavone is the OG when it comes to professional wrestling. He's seen absolutely everything there is over the last 30 or, God Lord, I'm aging him, saying 40 years. But Tony is someone that I respect tremendously, despite what I might say about him on air. So it's a pleasure to work with those guys. And as I said, yeah, it is a different feel. And I'm not sure exactly why, because ostensibly it's the same idea. It's, wrestlers in the ring with incredible matches and promos and storylines outside of it. But it does feel different.
I was going to save this for later, but you've already brought it up twice. What is up with this thing with Bryan Danielson? This has been done for years. Are you just going to finally get in the ring and clock him at some point, or what?
Not a chance. He's afraid of me. No chance he'd ever get in the ring with me. He knows he's got nothing to gain from that. He's got his long list of cherry-picked opponents that he wants for his Odyssey, so he can go back to his little, humble abode in Seattle and dig his clams out of the beach every weekend. So I don't think he has any interest in that. And that's all well and good. It's probably better for him either way. I enjoy making fun of him and belittling him. Obviously, the truth is he's an incredible wrestler, one of the best that I ever faced. But that can't take away from the vitriol and the legitimate jealousy and sort of resentment that I have towards someone. Their career was at the same sort of level as me, and then our stars certainly went in different directions. Yeah.
Fair enough. But I think a lot of people would enjoy that for someday, for you to step back in those ropes one more time and make that match happen.
Over the rainbow. Yeah, who knows? You can certainly say never say never in this job, but I wouldn't bet against it. I would bet against it at this juncture.
I know, but everybody keeps asking you. I had to do it too. Sorry, nostalgia buff.
No worries. Yeah.
AEW has become a very different place now that MJF is no longer the world champion and Samoa Joe is on top. It's a real different tenor in here now, with Joe leading the way, Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom doing their thing, and now you've got Tony Storm having to deal with Deonna Purrazzo and Serena Deeb, a very different set of challengers. Swerve Strickland and Adam Page coming after those guys. This has been a very different vibe lately. What do you think about this right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's intriguing. It's everything that pro wrestling should be. You know what I mean? It gets you to ask questions, gets you to pay attention, gets you to look forward to future matchups. Samoa Joe is a guy who I don't think there's any question put Ring of Honor on the map. He took what was an exciting upstart promotion and made them into a worldwide recognized brand by carrying the Ring of Honor world title as long as he did and as well as he did, and having those sort of matches. It just established that this is different. This is something you're not going to see anywhere else. And I don't think there can be any other argument that Ring of Honor style, pioneered by guys like Joe and Bryan and everybody else that came after them, has now become the de facto pro wrestling style. No matter what you watch, back in the early 2000s, nowhere else was really doing that. A little bit, you could say, yeah, and obviously it drew its inspirations from promotions like ECW and All Japan, of course, and a lot of the British stuff. But be that as it may, there's no argument that can be made that the effect that Ring of Honor has had and Samoa Joe, I think, is pivotal to that.
Yeah, it's been pretty fascinating. And I had just asked Claudio Castagnoli a little while ago about the influence of Ring of Honor and those days, and looking around the landscape of professional wrestling, how much that time frame has affected the current landscape of pro wrestling. And it's pretty incredible when you take a look at it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have thought about it. I remember when I first started, going to working with WWE, and certainly now in AEW, a lot of the times you'd see people that you cut your teeth with on the indies being on these massive shows. Certainly when I think of Wembley Stadium and All In last year, half of that card I'd have done shows on in the early 2000s, and to see how so many of those guys got to that level was something you would never imagine. I mean, you put yourself back in the landscape of pro wrestling in the early 2000s, and you would have never have said that half of these guys that were on top that drew this money would ever get to that stage, because, we heard the edict. At the time, the only other big company in the job, WWE, was that if you weren't 250 and you weren't a former football player, then you weren't going to have a chance. You might come in, you might have a sort of a low card role or a mid card role, but that changed so dramatically because of guys like Bryan and Punk and Joe to a large extent as well in TNA, that it just changed the landscape. And no one's ever said it, obviously, but I think they had to switch their game plan because they realized that this is what people wanted to see.
And, of course, we're on with Nigel McGuinness from AEW. And we've got AEW Revolution coming up here in just a few weeks as we get ready for the retirement match of Sting. And this is shaping up to be a very entertaining night as well. How keyed up are you for this pay-per-view?
Oh, super excited. I mean, tickets have been flying off the shelf already. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but it's going to be close to a sellout, I would imagine, and I don't think there's any question that it's in large part, if not whole part, because of Sting's retirement, and speaks to the respect everybody as fans, and certainly the guys in the back have for Sting as well. I mean, he's a guy who, first ballot Hall of Famer, no question about it, but he's also a guy who was professional, never had an ego, and there's certainly a lot of other people in his position could have done, came in and is always willing to do whatever is asked of him, always able to change his gimmick over the years as well and remain relevant, not just do the same old tired out tricks, but something different, take some risks, and always entertain. I think that's why Sting will always be loved. And so to that point, this will be the last night that he gets in the ring. And because of that, there will be some incredible memories, not just for him, but everybody that either watches the show or is there in person.
Yeah. What a great spot for Darby. When I was,
right.
when I was up in Seattle and he was standing up there and he's in the ring with Adam Copeland and Sting. What an amazing opportunity for a guy like that. That must have just been incredible for him to be in the ring standing there with those two icons.
Yeah, no question about it. As a real fan of the business, I think that's for all of us, and I think that's arguably why we all love AEW. And it all comes from the top. It comes from Tony Khan, who, by his own admission, is a pro wrestling fan, and because of that, he has that pro wrestling fan mentality, which is open to all sort of things and to the respect of the guys who've been in the job for a long time. There's a reason why guys like Adam Copeland and Christian Cage and Sting come to AEW. And no, it's not just about the money. It's about that creative freedom. It's about that respect, and it's about the ability to go out there and still do it. You do not watch a Christian Cage match or an Adam Copeland match or a Sting match now and go, they're not as good as they used to be. They still are absolutely incredible. As much as I may bemoan him on TV, Adam Copeland is just incredible. Bell to bell, and in the back, the influence that he's had on the guys as well. I just wish he'd stop threatening to hurt me.
Well, have you ever considered being nice to these guys on commentary once?
It's my job. What are you talking about? I got to call what I see. And if he's, he comes out and says that he wants to team with Christian Cage, and then 2 weeks later, because Sting has a word in his ear, he changed his mind completely and wants to fight him, and then tries to end his career as well. I can't let that go.
Understood. I tell you, Nigel, it's fun because just as a personal compliment, I just think that when you're doing that broadcasting, it just brings such a great laugh and a change of pace. And it's just something out of the blue that you'll say that just breaks everything up. And it just reminds us one of the best parts about pro wrestling, that we're supposed to be having fun when we do it.
Amen. 100%. William Regal's right when he says that none of us are owed anything in wrestling. Every dollar we make, every minute we spend in the business is a blessing. And I certainly feel that way. And sometimes I do think we do all take it far too seriously and worry too much about this and that. It's just a blessing, whether you're a fan in the stands or somebody working inside the industry as well. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. There are so many other jobs that we could be doing that we wouldn't like, we're so blessed not to have to work 40 hours a week doing a job that we can't stand. And so, it's an incredible blessing that we all have.
Now, one of the things I was really excited to get to talk to you about and give you a chance to promote is the Nigel McGuinness Magical Night that's going to be happening here at the Nerd on Friday night. And I've heard so much about these shows that you do from so many people. And it's not just you doing magic tricks and things like that, but this is kind of a one-man show and an ode to professional wrestling and your friends and, kind of reaching into people's hearts a little bit. And I've just heard so many things about how you're really trying to reach inside and touch people through the magic and professional wrestling. So tell everybody a little bit about this show and what you're trying to accomplish as you're doing it.
I mean, originally the show was inspired by the passing of Jay Briscoe. Unfortunately, in January last year, Jay, a man who probably one of the most alive pro wrestlers of all time, his life was cut short, I believe, at 38 years of age, and that was the real inspiration. I had the idea to do a magic show before, and many people have suggested I did, but I just didn't really have the impetus, and then with his passing, it was just like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, as cliched as that is. And so I took 3 weeks, I wasn't working anywhere at the time, so I was able to do that and commit 3 weeks to working on a show that was partially inspired by Derek Delgado's in and of itself as well. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to check it out. I believe it's on Hulu. You can see it. And he tells a lot of his life stories and uses magic to accentuate that. So I thought I'd try to do the same sort of thing, to your point, as an homage to pro wrestling, talk about the similarities that magic and pro wrestling have, and then talk about a lot of the experiences that I had as well in pro wrestling, a lot of the heartbreak, a lot of the triumph, and tie that all back together with magic. And some of it is visual magic, some of it's mentalism, some of it is just, funny things that will make you giggle as well. But I get people up on stage and we all have a good laugh, and we all sort of revel in this, I like to call it a proud, dirty secret. Pro wrestling, if you're a pro wrestling fan, and you see someone walking by out in the real world with a pro wrestling T-shirt, you feel like, yeah, we're part of a club. You know what I mean? And so it's that feeling. Something arguably I'm as proud of this show as I have anything else I've done. I did the documentary 2012 when I retired, and obviously I have the body of work as a wrestler and now as a commentator as well. So between all of those, I just think this is a way to blend it all together and pay homage to it, and leave fans and friends and whoever comes to see this show with a night of heightened human experience that they'll neither forget or regret.
Looking down the road, we're going to be headed back to Wembley this year too. Man, I'll tell you what, it's going to be hard to top last year, but I'm sure you guys are going to be bracing yourselves to go for that.
Yeah, I don't doubt it for a second. That's the one thing that Tony Khan has proved. On the day he pulls it off, right? Big show, and Wembley was an incredible night. For me personally, it was 31 years, almost to the day that I first sat in Wembley Stadium watching SummerSlam, and I first just had an epiphany that I was going to be a professional wrestler. So to come back to that venue and stand in the ring and announce the world record paid pro wrestling attendance, you couldn't write it. You know what I mean? That's something from a movie. So to live that experience, was absolutely incredible. And to your point, to one up it, I don't know. I made a joke, didn't I, when that was first announced, that if they sell out, that I'd have to dust the boots off. And I think I probably would have been up for it, but it just didn't work out because Bryan was scared, and he pretended that he'd hurt his arm, and then all of a sudden was fine the next week. So don't quote me on any of that at all.
Oh, I think it's a little too late for that, sir, but it's all good. Nigel, thanks for coming on the Mark Hoke Show. We do appreciate it.
You got it. No worries, mate.
All right, and there you go. Nigel McGuinness, everybody. Boy, I'll tell you, what a great guy, and someone that, I've admired. And, if you haven't seen the documentary about his career, a story of triumph and tragedy. Of course, had the injury that knocked him out of WWE, and of course had to retire, and just a wild run for him. But certainly, got to go to that his magic show on Friday night at the Nerd, and it was very touching. Jay Briscoe was an inspiration to him, and had a blast. I've actually got to go up on stage a little bit, and he figured out that I was not telling him the truth, and I felt very bad considering he used to play a lot of poker, and he read me like a book. I was very upset about that, but it was a very moving show, and had a lot of fun too, and some terrific wrestlers were over there as well. Jerry Lynn was there, and Kenny King had a great time with it, and but certainly it was a great moment to share with Nigel. And I would recommend that if you get a chance, no matter where you are, if you can go see one of his shows, it's a great night. I'm sorry I'm stumbling a little bit over it, but honestly it was a little emotional, and I was certainly a fan of Jay Briscoe for a very long time, and Ring of Honor was a place that really restored my love of pro wrestling when it seemed like WWE was kind of just going through the motions. That ROH and those guys really made me feel something exciting was going on in pro wrestling again, and that group of people and is what got me motivated to really enjoy it again. It's and I think you kind of hear that when I interviewed Claudio and a little while ago, and Nigel, and when I talk to some of the ROH guys, they do have a little bit of a special place in my heart. I won't deny that. So great to talk to Nigel McGuinness. And of course, once again, want to thank AEW for all the great things they did for us this weekend. And we'll mention, of course, after that Collision show last night, which was a blast, of course, Orange Cassidy, who's going to be coming up on the show, did successfully defend his AEW International Championship against Tomohiro Ishii, but he did take a little bit of a beating from the Undisputed Kingdom. But Tony Khan kept mentioning about Las Vegas and essentially said, yeah, we're coming back. He said, we're looking forward to seeing all of you at Double or Nothing. So it looks like, without a formal announcement, that we're going to be having Double or Nothing here again in Las Vegas. Would imagine we'll be back over at the T-Mobile Center Memorial Day weekend. So you guys can brace yourselves for that. It's going to be awesome. Of course, I think that'll be the 6th Double or Nothing here, if I'm correct. Could be wrong, but either 5th or 6th. And it's kind of where it all started for AEW, and Tony made it sound like we're not going anywhere. So pretty exciting stuff there, that Double or Nothing is going to be back here in Sin City. And of course, AEW Revolution is going to be coming up on March 3rd, and the card is starting to shape up a little bit. We got some intrigue with Sting and Darby Allin winning the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And there was a little controversy surrounding. A lot of people were kind of, well, should they, shouldn't they? But they did on Wednesday night, beating Big Bill and Ricky Starks. And it is not 100% official yet, but it looks like I would imagine they'll be taking on the Young Bucks. But they will be there for Sting's retirement match. Ric Flair should be in the corner for those guys. So that's going to be happening. Orange Cassidy will be taking on Roderick Strong. Of course, he'll have Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, in his corner. If you also didn't see this match on AEW Dynamite, it was Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland. They went to a massive 30-minute time limit draw. And so both of them will be challenging Samoa Joe for the AEW World Championship. That is going to be an amazing match. Tony Storm is going to defend the AEW Women's World Championship against Deonna Purrazzo. That feud is building up pretty heavily. They had a little stare down last night at the Dollar Loan Center, and Eddie Kingston threw down the gauntlet. He's going to defend his Continental Crown Championship. That, of course, is 3 championships combined. The AEW Continental Championship that he won in the Continental Classic, the Ring of Honor World Championship, and the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship against Bryan Danielson. And Eddie put in a stipulation that if Danielson loses the match, he's got to shake Eddie's hand, show some respect, because apparently he doesn't have Bryan's respect. So that might be one of the worst things that Bryan would have to do. So that's where the card is right now, but there's going to be a lot more coming up on that. So get ready for March 3rd, AEW Revolution. That is going to be terrific. And speaking of Bryan Danielson last night, by the way, he had a little showdown in New Japan with Zack Sabre Jr. last night, and they had a good 28-minute match. And Zack Sabre Jr. wins the rematch against Bryan Danielson. Of course, they battled it out up in Seattle at Wrestle Dream, and Sabre Jr. comes out the winner. So they're now 1-1, and Bryan Danielson called Zack Sabre Jr. the best technical wrestler in the world after that match. But I really thought that was a match of the year candidate when they met later last year. This one, from what we're hearing, may have topped it. So a great one there for Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. in New Japan. Oh man, and that was the freedom that Bryan Danielson was looking for when he headed to AEW. He wanted to get matches like that. Well, guess what, buddy? You got it. So there you go. Oh man, it's just been such an amazing week here in Las Vegas, and eventually, of course, we're going to turn our attention to WWE, because this whole situation with The Rock and Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins hanging around being a little bit of a pest has continued to escalate, to say the least. And we took another step forward with this WWE WrestleMania kickoff press conference. I'm not sure how much of a press conference it really was. A bunch of us were there, but we got a little bit of a show down at T-Mobile on Thursday afternoon as, well, all hell broke loose as The Rock, well, he tried to show Cody Rhodes what his role was. Cody didn't like it very much. So some wild goings on there. We're going to talk all about that. And if they were trying to make everybody forget about Vince McMahon, well, I don't know. Nobody's making this story go away anytime soon. There's more developments that come up with that. And Scott D'Amore out at TNA. We're going to mention that as well. And of course, we're going to hear from the AEW International Champion, Orange Cassidy. So a pretty jam-packed hour number 2 here on the Mark Hoke Show on KDAWN 101.5 FM. And don't forget, download that Odyssey app too, so you can hear us anytime you want, and all the great shows on KDAWN. It's AUDACY. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with hour number 2 on the Mark Hoke Show. We'll be right back.
Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show, and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join the Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.
If your retirement plan is on set it and forget it, it's time to take control. Tune in for Financial Safari with America's Wealth Coach and best-selling author, Coach Pete DeRuda.
Financial Safari with Coach Pete, Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 2 p.m. 101.5 FM KDAWN.
Your tax refund belongs to you, not an identity thief. Over $6 billion in tax refunds were flagged by the IRS for possible identity theft in 2023. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. Our U.S.-based restoration specialists are experts dedicated to helping solve your identity theft issues, and all LifeLock plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. So we'll reimburse you up to the limits of your plan if you lose money due to identity theft. Don't let someone else enjoy your refund. Save up to 25% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Ready for your next vacation? Not so fast. Before you hit the road, remember these healthy habits to keep yourself and others safe and sanitary. Wash your hands after using the restroom, before eating and after blowing your nose. Sanitize airplane seats and tray tables. Sneeze or cough into a tissue or your elbow. And avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Lastly, make sure you're up to date on all your routine vaccines, including the COVID-19 vaccine. It's also important to get tested when necessary, such as if you develop COVID-19 symptoms before, during, or after travel. If you will be traveling to visit someone who is at a higher risk of getting very sick from COVID-19, or if you're in a situation with a greater risk of exposure during travel. Pack these tips on your next adventure. And remember, travel safely, Nevadans. This message is sponsored by a CDC grant through the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
The LGBTQ Center of Las Vegas provides a range of health and wellness services in a safe and non-judgmental environment. You can get fast and comprehensive HIV testing, as well as screening for STIs for little to no cost. Appointments are recommended, but walk-ins are welcome. Located in the heart of Las Vegas near downtown, the center also provides an on-site pharmacy. Get more information at thecenterlv.org. This message is sponsored by a grant through the Sands Corporation, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM KDAWN.
KMXP HD3 Henderson, K260HCS Las Vegas. Always live on the free Odyssey app. 101.5 FM KDAWN.
Settlers
debating a major foreign aid package. I'm Deborah Valentine, Fox News. U.S. senators gathering on Capitol Hill for a vote deciding the fate of the $95 billion foreign aid spending bill. Here's Fox's Chad Pergram.
A group of Republicans oppose the bill. They don't like the push to help Ukraine. It's about the math. Mike Lee of Utah implored his colleagues to continue the filibuster.
Remember, it only takes 41 votes. 41 votes opposing cloture stops the bill, stops it either indefinitely or until such time as these concerns can be resolved. They're not insuperable concerns. They're not unreasonable concerns.
Republicans killed the border security package. Now Lee and others want amendments to the international aid package about the border. Democrats are willing to accept some amendments.
This comes as Republican senators are calling for more border security as a surge in migrants continues to enter through the U.S. southern border. It's the 127th day of the war between Israel and Hamas. IDF forces are focusing their attention on what it says are 4 Hamas battalions in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Fox News Sunday. Netanyahu says the IDF has already taken out 75% of Hamas battalions, and they want to finish the job.
Victory is within reach, and we should all strive for that common target to destroy Hamas, because that gets all the other objectives within our purview. It also gets something else. It gives us hope for the Middle East, hope for peace. You can't have that with Hamas remaining intact.
More than half of Gaza's 2.3 million residents are currently in the city of Rafah. The White House says President Biden is speaking with Netanyahu today. America is listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
5 inches of rain by tomorrow.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
And wow. Guys, it's been one hell of a week. Welcome back to the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. I will try to talk. I am Mark Hoke. Thanks for being with us. Oh, man. This week has been absolutely insane, and want to thank all of you for being with us. This is the best in pro wrestling news and entertainment on KDAWN. And, of course, streaming live on that Odyssey app. If you haven't downloaded the app, well, you have failed, and you must rectify that immediately. Because, of course, you can get all the great shows on KDAWN, like SportsX Radio, which, of course, airs on here from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. Pretty darn good show with Ken Thompson. It's got a pretty solid producer. He's okay. A little ugly, but he's all right. And, of course, all sorts of terrific shows. And, the Odyssey family and many others. So download that app. It'll keep you entertained, I promise. But, of course, you can listen to the Mark Hoke Show, and of course have our shows available on markhokeshow.podbean.com. And if you are out there and want to interact with the show while you're listening to it here on KDAWN, you can hop in our chat box on YouTube or on Facebook. We're streaming there. I'd love to get your thoughts on everything that's going on, because this has been an insane couple of weeks in professional wrestling. Very few times that I can remember that there has been so much news in and out of the ring, and we are trying to cover it all for you here. And of course, Las Vegas, on top of the presidential primaries and caucuses and the Super Bowl, just somehow became the epicenter of professional wrestling as well. It is amazing what took place here in Las Vegas all this week. And just on a personal note, obviously I produce the Steve Sanchez Show and SportsX Radio. So between the professional wrestling and the politics and the sports, I don't know. I couldn't get sleep. I barely saw my daughter, but I did get to meet some fantastic people. We heard from Darby Allin and Nigel McGuinness, and I got to go to Nigel's Magic show at the Nerd this week, which I thought was just terrific. A lot of mentalism and things like that, and just very much enjoyed that. And we're going to be hearing from Orange Cassidy, the AEW International Champion, a little bit later on in this hour as well. But also got to produce an interview with Donald Trump, and spoke to Matt Gaetz and Carrie Lake. This has just been a wild week for me, and I want to thank everybody who's been involved with helping me out this week. Mark Mania, who is the program director here at KDAWN. It just was something that a week I'm not going to forget. And just a huge thanks to the WWE staff for their help over at, and I should say in TKO too, for their help over at the WWE WrestleMania press conference. And just a massive thank you to John Schneider and everybody over at AEW. I mean, they are first class all the way. I mean, they are just such a terrific company, wonderful people, and setting everything up that they did, and the opportunities to get to talk and hang out with a lot of the people from AEW. Just, I don't know. I can't say enough about those guys, and AEW is just a terrific organization. So thank you very much to them for all of their help in giving us the opportunities to talk to some of these wrestlers and bring their stories to you here on the Mark Hoke Show. So shall we chat? What do you want to talk about? As a certain gentleman would say, oh, what a wild week in WWE. So, of course, on Friday, after The Rock had managed to get Cody Rhodes to step aside and take over the spot in the main event at WrestleMania, the fans went crazy. We talked about a little bit last week that the We Want Cody hashtag was one of the top trends in Twitter for days. And the reaction had been swift from the WWE universe that we don't want The Rock and Roman. We want Cody Rhodes. They wanted Cody Rhodes to finish the story. Footage was coming in from all over the country at WWE shows that The Rock was getting booed. Anytime The Rock came up, a video was put up, don't want The Rock. Boos everywhere. You were seeing just vitriol towards The Rock. And it got announced on Friday that there was going to be this WWE kickoff press conference here at T-Mobile in Las Vegas. And it's weird because, WWE really tends to plan things out very meticulously for the most part. But they threw this thing together very, very fast. And obviously with the Super Bowl being here, a lot of press being here, it's a good opportunity if they want to do something to do it. And lo and behold, they did. And that conference kind of started off with Pat McAfee doing his show down on Radio Row. Had The Rock, who insulted many of the Cody fans. He was not happy with them and called them Cody crybabies. Tried to start a trend on Twitter and said they were doing bad things with chicken nuggets, which we cannot say on the air. Happen to like chicken nuggets. My daughter likes chicken nuggets. And for those of us out there that like Cody Rhodes and chicken nuggets, Dwayne, we can assure you that we are not doing bad things with chicken nuggets. And this was the start of this damage control campaign. And honestly, this is what it was. Because as the stories went out, and one guy who was really in the middle of this was Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful, who was reporting that even back in January, that this was part of The Rock's contract, that at minimum that he was supposed to wrestle a match as part of his stipulation for being on the board of TKO, which is the parent company of WWE. So The Rock apparently had decided that, we're going to wrestle Roman. This is going to be huge. And then after everything happened with Vince McMahon and then CM Punk getting hurt, the reports were out that Rock felt like, hey, this is it, man. Goes to Ari Emanuel, who is the man in charge of the TKO group, which oversees WWE and UFC now. Said, this is it, man. We're saving WrestleMania. Kind of taking on the godlike complex that he took on when he went barreling into DC Comics studios. Instead of Black Adam just being a Shazam villain, it's like we're gonna center the bad guys around Black Adam, which turned out not to be such a good move. Well, so Cody still gets booked to win the Royal Rumble. Triple H, apparently, from what we are seeing from reports from Dave Meltzer and PWI Insider, or PW Insider, of course, that's the insider group for Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the longtime publication, that Triple H knew it. He still booked Cody Rhodes to win the Royal Rumble. So this was a very, shall we say, tricky situation for Mr. Johnson and WWE. And, we of course heard more reports that many people within the locker room and employees were shocked that this was going to happen, that they had been building this story for a very long time. And to all of a sudden see Cody was out was not a popular decision. And then the fans revolted too. And a lot of people, I think, felt like, well, this will be okay. Everybody loves The Rock. So this will be all right. We're going to have The Rock step in and he's going to be the head of the, take over, try to be the head of the table, and take over the family. But they did not anticipate that Cody had built up so much popularity. They did not. And all of a sudden, this backlash, they knew that that if they had taken this route, that The Rock was going to go into Philadelphia as supposedly being the good guy. It wasn't going to work. And I had even said this on Twitter as well when someone had brought it up. I said, if they go this way, The Rock is going to get booed out of Philadelphia. And Roman may end up actually being the good guy in this whole thing. But it could be a situation similar to what happened when Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg were both leaving and after their WrestleMania match. And they just got destroyed. And the Philadelphia crowd, after you denied them their Rocky story with Cody Rhodes, oh boy, not a good call. So obviously they made a pivot. And at this press conference, Seth Rollins came out and wanted to know what Cody was going to do, introduces Cody, and Roman comes out. Roman comes out and says, you lost your chance, Cody. When you don't make a decision, other people are going to step in. And he says, I choose The Rock. Well, this was kind of a little logical flaw because it wasn't his choice to make. Cody won the Royal Rumble. It's his call. Well, then The Rock comes out. The Rock is, yep, this is going to be the great main event. And, you don't screw Cody Rhodes. And then the awesome graphic of the giant Lord of the Ringsy tree. If you didn't see this thing, it looked like it was something straight out of a Lord of the Rings chart that you would see with all the relations of everybody in the entire book, because it had all of the family from the Maiavias on down. Everybody that had participated in professional wrestling and is still in there on the board. It's in the bloodline at the bottom. So, he and Roman, did the handshake. And then Cody came out with uttering a profanity and said, no. I'm wrestling Roman. And then Roman insulted Dusty Rhodes. Cody insulted Peter Maivia. Rock slaps Cody, and off they go. And then, of course, Triple H came out on SmackDown and said, hey, just in case you forgot, Rock, I'm in charge. It's Roman and Cody. So that's where it stands right now. A very interesting situation with The Rock, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins, who apparently is going to get his opponent selected by the winner of the Elimination Chamber coming up here in a few weeks down in Australia. But wow, WWE is trying to save this situation. I think they did okay. We'll find out. But they are walking a very fine line right now, and they're going to have to watch it. But it will be entertaining to see if the most electrifying man in sports entertainment doesn't screw this up. Who knows? But I'm sure everybody's going to be watching. They've created some palace intrigue here. So we'll check it out. And we'll follow it here on the Mark Hoke Show for you, to say the least. So keep sticking with us. And speaking of sticking with us, we're going to head to break, because when we come back, it's time to hear from the AEW International Champion. That's right, Orange Cassidy is going to be joining us. And you know what? I got him to break character a little bit. That's right. The lazy one. The King of Sloth style. Actually talking to us. It's fun. So stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN.
Your tax refund belongs to you, not an identity thief. Over $6 billion in tax refunds were flagged by the IRS for possible identity theft in 2023. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. Our U.S.-based restoration specialists are experts dedicated to helping solve your identity theft issues, and all LifeLock plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. So we'll reimburse you up to the limits of your plan if you lose money due to identity theft. Don't let someone else enjoy your refund. Save up to 25% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund is belong to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Save up to 80% when you file with TaxSlayer. Start for free.
Dana Carvey and David Spade here.
You might know our podcast Fly on the Wall, featuring guests from across the entertainment industry.
We decided to do a spinoff called Superfly, and it's fun. It's just two of us riffing on current events, pop culture, catching up, impressions.
Joe, Trump's trying to be a dictator.
Yeah, just bump on the tater tots.
Joe, no.
Listen to and follow Superfly on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast.
If you live in Clark County, you are at risk of developing non-smoking lung cancer. Radon is a naturally occurring radioactive gas that gets into homes and increases one's risk of lung cancer, and it exists here in Clark County. Radon is colorless and odorless, so the only way you know if your radon level is elevated in your home or office is by testing. To get your free test kit, visit our website with a new interactive map to find a pickup location nearest you at www.extension.unr.edu/radon. 21,000 people die of lung cancer each year, and Nevadans are at a higher risk. If an elevated level of radon is found, there are ways to reduce it and lower the risk of getting lung cancer. Get your free test kit today. Visit our website with a new interactive map to find a pickup location nearest you at www.extension.unr.edu/radon. Sponsored by the University of Nevada, Reno Extension's Radon Education Program, and aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
For 30 years, the LGBTQ Center of Nevada has been a safe and welcoming place to celebrate and serve the entire community. The center advocates for the empowerment and safety of everyone. It provides wellness services for better mental, physical, and holistic health. And the center connects people to the community. Learn more at thecenterlv.org. This message is sponsored by a grant through the Sands Corporation, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN.
This is the Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
And we are back on the Mark Hoke Show. Very excited because, of course, AEW Collision back in town here in Las Vegas this Saturday night at Henderson at the Dollar Loan Center, 4 p.m. And we are very excited to have this man who, by the luck of the draw, gets to defend his AEW International Championship against Japanese legend Tomohiro Ishii. I'm sure he's looking forward to having his chest turned into hamburger this weekend. We are very excited to have Orange Cassidy joining us here on the Mark Hoke Show. Orange, how are you doing today?
I was doing okay, and then you mentioned all that stuff about my chest turning into hamburger, and now I remember I have to wrestle that man this Saturday, and it's not lucky. It's not the luck of the draw.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to get things off on a bad note. I apologize.
No, it's actually good to get my mind focused for it, because I have some trouble getting focused.
We've seen that occasionally, but it's all good. It was funny that I got to do some research. When I went to North Dakota State, I used to hang out with the architecture guys a little bit, and I didn't know that you went to NJIT and have an architecture degree. How did you go from that to pro wrestling?
Well, that's all alleged. That's allegedly I did all that.
Okay.
It's a blur for me of what I do in and out of the ring. But professional wrestling has always been a part of my life one way or another. And everything else I've had to deal with my life, pro wrestling was equally the goal as everything else. So, I was tired a lot, kind of like how I am now.
And another interesting part that I saw is you got your beginnings back in Hanover, Pennsylvania, and I actually grew up in East Berlin, Pennsylvania, just a little bit away from there. And I would love to hear about where it all started for you. Tell me a little bit about that time in your career. And I can't believe that it's almost been 20 years you've been in the ring.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy to think about? I try not to think about it because then I feel more sore from all the stuff I've been doing over the past 18 years. But it was just like one of those things where me and my friends thought we could wrestle. So we went out and thought we could do it. May have wrestled in some backyards and met some other kids that were into it too, kept those connections going, and then found out about this promotion in Hanover that we could go and wrestle for. So we did. And it's a good thing I did it because now I can sit here with you and do this interview because it seemed to work out okay.
Yeah, I think
just by coincidence.
Yeah, I think it did too. I mean, to think that you went from small town South Central PA to the top of the world in professional wrestling is pretty incredible. You developed such a very interesting style as you've gone along, and it stood out from everybody else. And I remember one time having a conversation with Jimmy Hart about being different, and you developed the King of the Sloth style and the kicks and just all the crazy things with your hands in your pockets. Where did that all come from? And what did that mean to you to try to be different from everybody else in professional wrestling? Because I don't know too many people that would have taken chances like that you did in professional wrestling to stand out that way.
So I could consider myself lucky, or I could consider myself desperate, or just I have been wrestling for quite a long time, and I have lots of friends in professional wrestling. And at a certain point, when you wrestle as long as I have been, and you see all the people that you came up with and all the people that are your friends get signed to different places, go do great things, travel around the world, and you're still doing the small town stuff, you kind of have nothing to lose, right? And clearly no one was interested in me. It wasn't anything I was doing, I was working, because I was listening to advice of people that worked for them. So I just decided to just do the opposite. And whatever I could do to stand out and be able to show everyone who Orange Cassidy is by being different is what I did. And it started to work. I just started to be who I really am. I started just being lazy. I started doing what I wanted to do. I tried to get in people's heads. And I think it resonated with people because you can identify with everybody. Everybody can identify with having to get up and go to work and not really wanting to be there, but still doing a good job. And I think that's what I try to embody.
And I think over time, it's been fascinating through your run in AEW, because watching you, I remember thinking, this guy's, you'd see the flashes of the things that you could do in the ring, but you would see the comedy, and people would see you do like the Mimosa match that you did with Chris Jericho and the arcade match that you had. And then all of a sudden things started to change and people started taking you more seriously. And now look where you are. Was there a switch that flipped a little bit to say, okay, now it's time to really maybe get away from that a little bit more? I mean, you still do those things, but it's become more of a serious style in the ring. And now people are like, wow, this dude can really go.
Yeah, I also think it was by design, right? I did what I had to do to get the job done. And when people start to understand your strategy or what you do in the ring, you have to change it up. I also think I've been challenged a lot from Chris Jericho, Matt Hardy, Adam Cole, and then the international championship run that I'm on now. That first match with Jon Moxley changed something within me. He brought it out of me. It's the things that I need to do to continue to be successful. I don't know if I were in another place or in another company that I would be able to go through that transformation. I think people have this idea about someone like me as a comedy wrestler and I hate the word comedy wrestler but they say that, and then that's the one note joke I do for however long I could do that one note until you get sick of me and then I leave. And I'm very grateful that I have a company like AEW and Tony Khan that saw that, like, no, we can show a wide variety of who Orange Cassidy is. And I feel it's important. I treat professional wrestling very seriously, and I consider it an art form. And I do think that when you look at something or you see something that's art, you should feel all emotions, sadness, happiness. And I try to do whatever I can to make those emotions come through. And if AEW were to not exist, I don't think I'd be able to do that.
Yeah, one thing that to me has been so impressive about you over the past couple of years is this run as the international champion. I went back and I looked at a list of opponents that you've taken on, and it is such an incredibly diverse group of people. Sometimes guys get stuck in a rut where there's a certain type of opponent they take on. I mean, you've been in the ring with everybody, every style, every size of opponent you could possibly be in there with. And every time you go out there, it's an amazing match, no matter who it is or how you have to adapt to take on that person. And I think it's really shown that you have come such a long way in diversifying what you do in the ring. And it's fascinating to me from where you've come to where you are now, that you just taken on so many different guys, and every night it's just great to watch.
It is. Well, thank you for saying that. I really don't feel like I need to say anything. You're really just doing a great job for me. I could just sit here and listen to you. That's fine. I appreciate that.
I'm available for hire, sir.
Yeah, no, hey, I might have to. you don't wrestle for as long as I do if you don't pick up a thing or two. And I have a lot of. I need to give my props to all the trainers and the diverse trainers. I always thought it was very important to see as much wrestling and learn as many styles as you possibly could to create your own. And just like how I was saying, like it's an art form, you want to just experience different emotions. And there are many different styles of professional wrestling that I think bringing it to a mainstream, like here in America, these different types of styles and things, I think is important. And I think it's good because AEW is the alternative. So here's the alternative. Let's show you. And I was very, very, very fortunate that I had the opportunity to go in every single week and wrestle, and I felt a responsibility to make sure that every week mattered and every single match mattered, and you saw every style, and I took a lot of pride in that. I still do. Geez, I'm doing it tomorrow. What am I saying? I'm going to be wrestling on Saturday, so I'm still doing it.
Now, over the past year and a half, there has been a lot of chaotic moments in AEW, and it seems like it's started to settle down a little bit. But I'm curious, with a personality like you have, what were you thinking while all this stuff was going on?
I just thought about doing what I thought was right, and I thought about just me being me the same way I thought about the championship is about what I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. I feel that our roster is the best roster I think to ever exist in professional wrestling. And it's unfortunate that a couple things get shown, but I know that there's a lot of people that put their head down and go to work and do the best they possibly could do and lead by example. And I try to look up, I try to look to that, try to keep that same feeling of like, hey, we're here to do the best we possibly can. This is a dream come true. So let's keep it going. And I try to focus on moving forward and all the positives because, you know, I don't got time to look at all the other stuff. I'm very tired. So I'd rather be happy.
We're on the Mark Hoke Show here with Orange Cassidy. I think one thing that is very interesting about the world of professional wrestling, it's hard to keep friends together. And you've had a great relationship with Chuck Taylor. And of course, you know, the best friends with him, Trent Beretta. And it seems like you have a pretty good relationship with Chris Statlander as well. How hard is it to maintain those friendships? And what do those mean to you?
Those people you just mentioned are the reasons why I was able to be the champion that I am today. We really rely on each other, and I think it's very, very important because professional wrestling, as you know, can be a very dangerous place. So you need people to have your back, and I'm very lucky to have those people that have been with me for a very long time. Chris Statlander more recently, but Chris is one of those people that we can lean on each other in different aspects of our lives that we all, you know, and I feel like we have a very good group of people, like the best friends. And, you know, we're the only ones that are still around together that never like, you know, start fighting each other. So we're kind of lucky. That just shows you that we really are best friends. So it is literally the reason why I am the wrestler I am today.
These reigns as international champion have been pretty impressive, but do you have any more aspirations? I know you get a little lazy sometimes, but what other aspirations do you have in AEW? Because, you know, there is another title you've wrestled for a couple of times, and it's sitting around Samoa Joe's waist at the moment. But, you know, temptation to maybe try and go get that world championship at some point?
You know, I know with professional wrestling that you never know what's going to happen, so I never like to say guessing whatever it is, but I just know about certain things, and I'm very, very certain that I have the international championship, and it is my goal to make that championship the most important championship in professional wrestling, and it still is. And someone's going to have to beat me up to take it, and I won't let it go very easy. So I don't really look forward to anything else besides that.
Well, you may be looking forward.
Never say never. Never say never.
Very true. Now, AEW Revolution's coming up here on March 3rd as well. What's coming your way there? I'm sure this is going to be a wild week, of course, with what happened last night with Sting and Darby Allin. There's going to be a lot of eyes on that one, but what do we have coming up for you on Revolution?
So Roderick Strong did this really bold thing, and he challenged me for the international championship at Revolution. He did that like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, okay, dude, sure, but I'm going to keep defending my championship. I'm not just going to wait for you. And I think that kind of made him a little upset. But so far, Roderick Strong will wrestle whoever has the international championship at Revolution, and I don't plan on losing it, but I do have Tomohiro Ishii on Saturday, so, you know, and I know him because I've teamed with him before, and I know how hard he hits, so you never know, but I don't plan on losing it.
Yeah, that's going to be a great night for you as well at Revolution. So a pretty stacked dance card for Orange Cassidy coming up over the next few weeks as you continue to play the dance with the AEW International Championship. Man, I'll tell you, it's going to be a wild time for you, sir.
I mean, it's been a wild time for me for the past year, two years. So at this point, it's just the norm. I just got to keep going, keep on keeping on.
Absolutely. By the way, I wanted to ask you real quick before I let you go. I saw the little promo you guys did when you were out at that shelter down in Savannah. You looked awfully comfortable with those dogs. Are you a dog guy, animal guy?
Oh, for sure. Me and Chris Statlander got to hang out with some dogs and some cats, and we were having a great time. And the dogs, they're like me. The dogs give off the same energy. So I just wanted to lay down in the beanbag chair, and hey, those dogs want to do the same thing. So I was comfortable. They were comfortable, and I consider myself more a dog person, but I like cats as well too. So I like all animals.
And where can everybody find you on social media?
Just Google search Orange Cassidy. You'll figure it out.
Fair enough. That's the lazy way to do it, buddy. And always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. We'll look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Great. Thank you very much.
There you go. Orange Cassidy, everybody. And, just an incredibly a fascinating guy. And he has had such a long career, and to see where he's come from in AEW. And of course, we all remember, he first showed up and, just putting the hands in the pockets and doing the little slow kicks of doom. And for those that you may not be familiar with Orange, what he would do is he'd put his hands in his pockets and then just do these little, soft kicks to people. And then all of a sudden he'd take off in bursts of energy and go off the ropes with his hands in his pockets, which is a pretty darn hard thing to do because obviously, you use your arms for balance and, be doing drop kicks and all sorts of crazy stuff. And, finally, as he mentioned, he eventually changed his style a little bit, and he still, once again, he still does those things, but it's been cut down to a minimum. And he's had 2 runs as AEW International Champion and has really captivated the fans. They love this guy. And, the sky's the limit for him, but I couldn't believe that when I looked it up, he's 39 years old. Just, you look at him and you think, my God, he's probably in his late 20s, early 30s tops. But, to see that, it was pretty stunning. But what a great representative for AEW, and it was an honor to get to talk to him. And once again, the sky's the limit for him too. AEW's got some great talent. And if you've been kind of WWE centric and you haven't watched a lot of AEW, might be a good time to get on board, especially with this pay-per-view coming up with Sting retiring. There's going to be some very intriguing storylines coming up. And I would highly recommend watching this pay-per-view because, man, I'll tell you, there's going to be some fantastic matches on this show. So thanks to Orange Cassidy, and thanks to all the AEW guys who took the time to join us, Darby Allin and Nigel McGuinness. And those interviews, by the way, we did record those. And if you want to get the full interviews, because there's some stuff that we actually had to take out for time considerations, you want to get the full interviews, they're all available on YouTube. So go back and give those a listen because there's some things that we had to leave out. They're pretty interesting. So check those out on our YouTube channel, Mark Hoke Show, the Mark Hoke Show, pretty simple. So head on over to YouTube and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that too. And if you're listening right now and you're in the YouTube or Facebook chat boxes, good time to get some questions in as we are going to be heading into our final break. And we're going to be talking about some stuff with Vince McMahon and a shocking firing at TNA and some other news that's popped up as well, including some bad news for Virgil, who's been having some issues. We're going to talk about what's up with Virgil, and a blast from the past who, oh dear, he just got in some trouble with the law too. So a lot going on in the world of pro wrestling, and we've got it all covered for you here on the Mark Hoke Show on KDAWN. Hey, we are the top rated show on this station, live rated show, I should say. And we are proud of it. And we want to thank you all out there for listening to us. We greatly appreciate it here on Super Bowl Sunday. So stick around. We got more coming up on our final segment. So stick around, everybody. We'll be right back.
You're pregnant, and no matter what you do, no matter what you try, you can't stop using alcohol, drugs, or tobacco. But no matter how lost you are, how far along you are, it's not too late. There's always hope, and there are many safe places that can help you stop using. In Nevada, pregnant women are given the highest priority for substance use treatment. Low-cost treatment options may be available so you and your baby can get healthy now. If you or someone you love is pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant and using alcohol, drugs, or tobacco, visit SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org or call 211 to find help today. SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org also has resources for healthcare providers, friends, and family. If you want to help someone who's pregnant and using, visit SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org or call 211 today. Sponsored by the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health and in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Unsafe sleep conditions cause serious injury and even death to infants. Never sleep with your baby on a sofa, in a chair, or in an adult bed. Protect the baby you love from becoming a tragic statistic. The only safe place for your baby to sleep is alone, on its back, in a crib, and in your room. For more information, visit cribsforkids.org. That's cribsforkids.org. This message is sponsored by the Division of Public and Behavioral Health, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Understanding the many things in a mother's life affecting her pregnancy is important. You can help improve the health of all mothers and babies in Nevada by completing a Pregnancy Risk Assessment Monitoring System survey about your recent pregnancy. Also known as PRAMS, the survey is from the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The survey asks new moms about their experience before, during, and after pregnancy. Responses are confidential and used to help improve the health of mothers and babies in Nevada. If you receive a PRAMS survey, please share your story. Learn more at nvprams.dpbh.nv.gov. That's nvprams.dpbh.nv.gov. This message sponsored by the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey Nevadans, prescriptions can be expensive. Let the Array RX discount card be your solution. Now available to all Nevada residents. Simply sign up for free. Show your pharmacist your digital card and save money. Receive discounts of up to 80% on certain medications. There are no age or income restrictions, and it only takes a minute to enroll, so you can get back to doing what makes you happy.
This message funded by a grant through the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Ready for your next vacation? Not so fast. Before you hit the road, remember these healthy habits to keep yourself and others safe and sanitary. Wash your hands after using the restroom, before eating and after blowing your nose. Sanitize airplane seats and tray tables. Sneeze or cough into a tissue or your elbow. And avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Lastly, make sure you're up to date on all your routine vaccines, including the COVID-19 vaccine. It's also important to get tested when necessary, such as if you develop COVID-19 symptoms before, during, or after travel. If you'll be traveling to visit someone who is at a higher risk of getting very sick from COVID-19, or if you're in a situation with a greater risk of exposure during travel. Pack these tips on your next adventure. And remember, travel safely, Nevadans. This message is sponsored by a CDC grant through the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN.
You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
And we return for the final segment of the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 1015 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. And by the way, if you're wondering, yeah, I do have a little bit of a sore throat. I've been fighting for the past couple of weeks, actually. So going a little Stevie Nicks, a little raspy, but hanging in there. So eventually it'll get better, I promise. It's like whenever I get a sore throat, it just never goes away for a while. no matter what I do. So hanging in there. But of course, we're talking pro wrestling here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. And if you have any comments or anything like that, and you happen to be on our live stream, we'd love to hear from you. Any thoughts about our guests? Of course, Darby Allin, Nigel McGuinness, and just heard from Orange Cassidy as well. And had a comment from Jason Archuleta, who said, I thought at WrestleMania kickoff they were going to announce a Mania coming to Vegas. Boy, I'll tell you, that has been a subject of much discussion, and had heard that they weren't totally happy with how things went with SummerSlam when it was here back in 21. Not sure, but I have a feeling it's going to happen someday. I mean, it's just such an ideal town for things like this. And, from what we're hearing, the Super Bowl is going very smoothly. And, Vegas is just designed for events such as a WrestleMania, a Super Bowl, with the hotels and everything being convenient. We need some infrastructure. And, if you're listening, those of you running the city, even though, personally, I wouldn't mind seeing some different people running the city, a light rail wouldn't be a bad idea. Just saying. But a WrestleMania in Las Vegas would be pretty cool. Tony Khan pretty much said it without saying it. The Double or Nothing is going to be back here in Las Vegas. So get ready for that Memorial Day weekend. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's always a terrific time, and we'll look forward to, I'm sure, seeing the stars of AEW coming back. And by the way, TNA announced they're going to be having another trip back to Vegas after the success of Hard to Kill. So I believe it was Rebellion is going to be here in April. So get ready for that. So TNA is going to be making their trip. They'll be back at the Palms here in just a little bit. So it won't be long before we see the stars of TNA coming back here. But one person that is not coming back with them, and this was a stunning story. I mean, I think everybody was shocked when we heard this, that, just a little while after what really was TNA's biggest show in a while, had a lot of success on pay-per-view buys and so on, that TNA president Scott D'Amore was fired by parent company Anthem and has been replaced by Anthony Ciccone. I mean, this was just an absolute stunner. But apparently what happened was Anthem head Len Esper and D'Amore could not agree on how to run TNA. D'Amore apparently wanted to keep expanding. Of course, they had brought in, Will Ospreay and Okada for this last show. And D'Amore had actually gone out and secured financing to purchase TNA. And unfortunately, they decided not to sell, and apparently just couldn't come to a decision on what to do, and sent Scott packing. Not a popular decision in the locker room. And after speaking to a lot of performers for TNA, boy, I can't imagine this is going well. And I'm sure a lot of them probably marched into the offices and said, we want out. If you go back and listen to some of the interviews like I did with Josh Alexander and Moose, they considered Scott not just their boss, but their friend, and a very good one. So this one is going to be one that, oh man, just when things were going very well for TNA, this is a disaster. I don't even know what to say about except good luck. But, we'll continue to cover TNA, and we'll see if they, keep things rolling. But you feel bad. If you were there or saw the pay-per-view and saw the passion that Scott had about TNA, and from where he took it, I mean, that place was nearly a pile of ashes, and he turned that place around from Impact, now just rebranding it. It's stunning. So I want to wish everybody over at TNA well and hope things go okay. And And unfortunately it's a business. Sometimes we forget that, but what a stunning bit of news out of TNA. Wow. Another bit of news that just came out, of course, part of the reason everybody thought we'd play the game with The Rock was, well, this little Vince McMahon thing, we got to make this go away. So, some of the reporting from Vice and others has certainly not allowed that to happen, because some digging was done, and a lot of this sourcing was coming out of Vice, and of course that's where the Dark Side of the Ring, that network, and they do sometimes some very shaky reporting. But on this one, apparently Ashley Massaro, of course you remember it's Ashley, back in the mid to late 2000s, was a performer from WWE, found out that WWE apparently had covered up that she may have been raped at an event on tour over in Kuwait in 2006. And apparently John Laurinaitis had reported this. So that's what his attorney said that. And apparently someone representing himself as a U.S. Army doctor while they were on tour, Massaro had said that she was injected with a paralyzing drug and raped, but apparently it was covered up. The situation was covered up. And then we've also heard Paul London and some others saying that Massaro had been completely sexually harassed by Vince McMahon over a long period of time, and she rejected him. And McMahon eventually took over Massaro's promos and was completely burying her. There was one example I saw on Twitter that I remembered that was just unreal. But Massaro suffered a lot apparently at the hands of Vince McMahon, while of course their lawyer was reporting that, Massaro would see other divas making out with Vince in the locker room. Of course, Massaro went on after she was released from WWE. Did a little bit of TV and radio, but unfortunately had committed suicide in 2019. But a lot of reports about Massaro, and of course, Bret Hart spoke out also this week saying that he can never shake Vince McMahon's hand and is disgusted by all this. Seth Rollins actually spoke out that anybody who's involved in this, he hopes they get what's coming to them. Bruce Pritchard, of course, the one that the longtime employee of WWE and one of the right-hand men for Vince McMahon, has said, he basically said, no comment. I can't talk about any of this stuff. There's legal things going on, is hidden. But of course, Ronda Rousey said that it's basically Vince's right-hand man when Vince isn't around. Bruce is the one that talks about it. Of course, he has a podcast that he does. So a very ugly situation continues in WWE. And I hate to say it, no matter what you try to do, this is not going away. It's not. And Vince WWE can try to cover this up as much as they want, but this situation is going to be around for a long, long time. And I'm sure there's going to be more lawsuits and more news that will be coming out of this in the weeks and months to come. So good luck on that. We want to also mention another story that came out. A guy who if you're an 80s wrestling fan, you may remember this one, Billy Jack Haynes. Of course, wrestled up in Portland for a while and then did some work down in World Class and then was in WWE. Oh, this is a bad story. He was apparently arrested for shooting his wife. Yeah, this is not good. So Billy Jack Haynes allegedly may have shot his wife here. He's in custody. He was taken to a local hospital, was treated for a medical condition. Once he's released, it's expected he's going to be booked and charged. Thursday, officers responded to a report of a shooting in his neighborhood. Wife was found dead, and yeah, so bad news there. So of course he hasn't wrestled for a long time, but yeah. So Billy Jack Haynes, of course, there's some other legal issues around him too, but wow. So that was pretty bad. But we also want to wish our best to Virgil. Of course, you remember he was the sidekick to the $1 Million Man. Apparently, Tatanka reporting that he got a message from a friend that Virgil is not in good health, had several strokes, but so there's power in prayer. Everyone come together and say a prayer for Virgil. So we want to wish him all the best. Of course, he had some issues with strokes before and dementia. So all the best to Virgil, but I hope you get better and take it easy out there. And guys, that's all we got. What a show. Holy cow. I don't know what more we could have jammed in there, but we want to thank AEW once again. Really appreciate all their hospitality. I want to thank Nigel McGuinness, Darby Allin, and Orange Cassidy for taking time out to be part of the Mark Hoke Show. We really do appreciate it and had a great time in Nigel McGuinness's show. Folks, wherever you are, and we know we've had about 160 countries listen to this show. If you get a chance to see Nigel's show, and this is coming from bottom of my heart, you gotta go. It was such a great time, and Nigel, really does tug at your heartstrings on that, and it's worth the time. Follow us on all the social medias at Mark Hoke Show. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We would certainly appreciate that. At the Mark Hoke Show, markhokeshow.com. We're kind of everywhere, kids. And of course, here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the Talk of Las Vegas, and the Odyssey app. I wish everybody a great time. Be safe and be smart. Super Bowl Sunday. If you need a ride, make a phone call. Don't drive drunk. Just take it easy. Have a great day, everybody. Good luck to you. Enjoy the rest of your day, Las Vegas.
Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for